Wednesday, April 24th. Our warm-up question for the day: what is an argument? Pose this question because there is a common use of the term, and there's a scientific use of the term, or a formal use of the term, I should say. Argue is often used when people get in a verbal fight. It often involves harsh words or yelling, where an argument, in a logical sense, is actually a construction of ideas that build from one to the other that make logical sense in an effort to come to a conclusion. We'll be using the second version of that. If you're still in 2.6, you are creating models that show different scenarios and the resulting effects. So there it is, divided by disciplinary practice, science practice, disciplinary core idea, and cross-cutting concepts. We're creating models. It's about the human body, and it involves systems. 2.7, which we'll move on to today, depending on how quickly you move through 2.6, you're now analyzing, interpreting data, okay, taking a look at it for its value and what it can tell you about how Elise's body is taking in and absorbing different molecules. You will construct written arguments based on this evidence. Think of claim evidence reasoning approach that you may have been taught in classes, explaining their diagnosis or your diagnosis of Elise's condition and how it affects her body systems, ability to deliver molecules to her cells. Remember, Elise's tired, she has a condition, we're trying to solve it. You're going to now present your case as to what you think it is and why. Your outcomes are met when you've created and analyzed scenarios. That's from 2.6. And in 2.7, you've made a claim and gathered evidence about Elisa, so that's your practice goal. You understand the content. If your partners and you were able to create scenarios accurately enough to match them to the cards in the background information article, and that you're able to explain in an argument how your evidence that you collected matches Elise's condition, and your cross-cutting concepts are met when you examine your body systems. You're aware of the scale, proportion, and quantity of the objects you see. In other words, you can tell what items are bigger or smaller than the others and what effect that has on them, and that you explained in your argument the roles of body systems. So it's all about 2.6, finishing that up and beginning your argument for 2.7, which we'll wrap up tomorrow. That will be the end of the chapter. We'll move on to chapter 3 about cellular respiration. So some of you are starting to realize or be exposed to what we call standards-based grading. In other words, you have to show what you know. There's no earning grades outside of demonstrating your knowledge. Some of you say, well, what can I do to get a better grade? Well, in standards-based grading, you have to meet a standard. You have to do that through your knowledge and expressing that knowledge by answering questions, discussing, and writing. So what should you know to be a level 2 or higher right now in the groups that we're in, a blue or purple group? Well, the answer to that, if you're asked about someone's energy levels, you need to know, 1, what systems are involved, including what systems you would test to find an answer and why. Okay? You need to know how breathing or respiration might be involved, including which molecules that involves. Number 3, you need to know how digestion might be involved, including which molecules. Number 4, how circulation might be involved, including which molecules. And 5, how cells might be involved, including which molecules. Okay? Those are the focus of Amplify Chapter 1 and 2, and you have to have a really firm grasp on that. If you're adding in other irrelevant information, or you can't immediately go to the answers to those questions, you're not there yet. You're still developing. So what makes a level 3, some of you asked? At this point, it's knowledge or parts of knowledge about cellular respiration, which is in Chapter 3. Okay? They want to know what is happening in the cells with the glucose and oxygen. If you are making some conclusions on that are correct, they're going to start bumping you into level 3. And so at 2.7, so this doesn't have anything to do with standards-based grading right now, but 2.7, you're going to be diagnosing Elisa. So this is a heads up as you finish 2.6 where your mind should be. You must argue in writing what you think Elise's condition is. So through all those things you've been doing up to this point, you now are at a narrowing point in which you have to commit and explain, all by your big kid self. Okay? Not in groups, not with friends. This is what do you know. Okay? To remind you of what you would do to prepare for that, you've worked with the class watching a video, making a whole class model, having teacher-led class discussions, making claims, and analyzing claims as a class. You need to use that as your evidence. In groups, reading, annotating, and discussing text, making claims, creating models, analyzing models, discussing ideas, and gathering evidence. Those are things that you've done already. You may continue to do a little bit in 2.6, but the time's up to show what you've accomplished. And individually, you've read text, which includes annotating, creating models, making claims, and then the stuff in yellow that I have, make a claim, gather evidence, write an argument, is what's the main point of 2.7. That's where you're arriving at. Put your best work forward so it can be evaluated to see where you end up. And that is our day.